The final technique in HELIO'S lesson 11 is the side mount upward lift escape, the side mount UPA. Let's talk about what's happening here. In lessons 1 through 10, we got an entire picture of Helio Gracie's self-defense system. If you never have an opportunity to study more than the original 10 lessons that Helio gave, you will still have more than enough material, especially if you focus and succinctly grab the essence of all of the movements to defend yourself in almost any scenario. We've got several scenarios in lessons 1 through 10 with clubs, several scenarios with knives, with guns, against punches, against different types of grabbing from the top, including headlocks and collar grabs, and then also some work on the ground, especially headlock escapes, or what to do if someone's sitting across our chest, which is called the mount, exactly. Very dangerous, right? So, this principle of escaping the mount, we've seen before. Someone's sitting on my chest, I trap the arm, I trap the hand, I trap the wrist, I trap the arm, I trap the foot, drag it to the middle, open the knee a little bit, I lift the hips, and when gravity takes over, I go over my shoulder, right to my knees, and I lock the person down, right, for safety. So we know that we can move through the mounted position in this way. The same movement, the UPA, right? The UPA means two things. The UPA means that I lift the hips to create leverage, and then I roll over the shoulder. That's the UPA, okay? We can use that same principle from the side mount. Now it's a little more sophisticated. We are on lesson 11 now. We've gotten all the essential fundamentals out of the way. So Helio's saying, all right, lessons 1 through 10 have happened. You've gotten down very, very core fundamental principles. I expect now that you'll be able to move to something a little more subtle. Maybe we come up against someone who is a little bit of an experienced grappler. They understand that if I'm laying on my back and they haven't mounted me yet, but they're laying alongside of me, perhaps they're holding me in a headlock, perhaps they're laying with their chest on my chest, they may know to move to the mounted position. As they do, that's where I find my escape. So let's look at how this scenario could occur. Nathan, can you lean your back, please? Let's say that Nathan and I are in a confrontation, and he's ended up on his back, but I haven't yet mounted him. Perhaps I end up first holding him like this. Very common street scenario, right? I hold him like this and I punch him in the face. In Kodokan Judo, this position, the front headlock, is called Keishigatami. And we know the escapes from here because we've seen them in lessons 1 through 10. Another thing I can do is I can turn over and put my chest on his chest, right, and hold his head like this, and maybe try and punch him like this. Or I can hold the arm and I can use my elbow here. Still very dangerous for him. Another position the person can take is both hands on the same side, and they can sit and face the feet. Right? This is called reverse Keishigatami, if we're going to use the Japanese terminology. Just to remember the positions, it's nice to give them some names. So, Keishigatami, right? Chest to chest, or traditional side mount, and reverse Keishigatami. Now, let's think about how I would mount him from here. There's a few ways. If my chest is on his chest, maybe what I can do is put my hand on this side, and then I can put my knee like this and drag it across, and when it touches the ground, I pop my foot out and hold him. Right, that's one way. Another way is from this chest-on-chest position, I sit the back leg through. This is what we did on the ball earlier for the warm-up. I sit to reverse Keishigatami. So look, I stretch one leg, and I sit the bottom leg through. And in order to mount him successfully, my knee should touch his hip, and I keep this leg bent. Look, if I make this leg here straight, then I don't have a base, so he can just bump into me and turn me over. All right? So let's go back, please. When I want to mount him, I keep the leg bent. This way, if he tries to push into me, the leg bent here is a base, and then this leg is also a base. I'm going to use this leg to mount him. What do? I put the elbow on this side just like it is. My back can hide his vision. That's nice. And I just take this leg and look, I step over. And I hug him right here. And now from this position, I use this leg to climb up and go to the mounted position. Hands on the ground, walk myself around to the front, cover the hips, feet together, and knees barely touching the ground, so I'm persistently crushing him. Nice and low and heavy. When that particular mount attempt happens, right, when I go to mount in that fashion, there's an escape. There's an escape. I touch the knee, and as I step, he waits for what? He waits for the weight transfer. Here, all of my weight is back. It's still on this leg. I need to put my weight on this leg in order to climb over. As soon as I put the weight on the leg, he bumps into me and rolls. That's the side mount upward lift escape, the side mount upa, okay? This drill is a little more sophisticated because it involves timing. If I go too early, then he just doesn't need to step over at all. If I go too late, he's already mounted, and my upa won't help me. I have to catch this as the foot touches the ground. Not before and not after, but as it's coming down. I have to catch this as he's using the weight on this leg to sit his hips up and over. That's when I have to catch it, because then all the weight is centered in one place, and that's the point that they tip over. Right? That's what happens. That's what happens. Now, how do I know when that is? If he's holding me from the side with his back facing me and looking at my feet, and he's blocking my vision, I can't see the foot. I can't see the foot. And if I look on this side for the foot, by the time it gets there, it's too late. So we add one little element here to create what's called a sensitivity marker. That's this. As soon as Nathan sits and touches the knee to me, I know if he's facing me, there's not much he can do here except mount. There's a few advanced submissions he could look for, but the main thing he's looking to do is achieve a dominant position. In order for him to do that, this part of his body, the torso between the hips and the neck, it has to rotate somehow. Why? Because the hip carriage itself, look, his hips right here, they have to pass over this arc. And when they get to the other side of the arc, that's the mount, because the knees match. So I'm just going to hold him like this. I'm just going to hug the back, under the armpit, not over, under. And I don't have to hug him tight and pull him to me, that's going to crush me. I just touch here. Both hands are open and flat, so I get a wide range of sensitivity. And I feel for when he starts to move. And as I feel his body turn, and I feel the chest come around and face the front, that's when I go. Lock down with the elbows here, right? The biceps can be held to prevent any punches. The head should be buried flat, this way or this way. Everything's tight, okay? But for the sake of the escape, this position's what? Do you remember?
Reverse Keshigatami.
Reverse Keshigatami. And they're looking to do what, guys, over here? They're looking to mount. So I hold the back, so I have some sensitivity. When I feel the body start to turn over the top, look, I bump, not just straight up, but over my shoulder, into him, at this angle. And now he's already starting to tip. Why? All the weight is on his bottom leg. He had to put it there to take this leg and walk it over. If this leg was heavy, he couldn't walk. He had to make the leg light, so he put all the weight down there. And now, because I bumped up over the weight, I can follow him and lock him down. Make sense? One more time. Okay? All right, guys, let's go.